This man was a bit ruthless, with strong muscles and messy long hair. His expressionless face revealed murderous intent in his eyes. After entering the fighting arena, he picked up 2 sticks. Have you ever seen a fight like this? Rambo, a veteran with a distinguished record, has served his country through life and death. Now he lives in Thailand and makes a living by playing Muay Thai. Facing a powerful enemy, Rambo was quickly at a disadvantage, relying on his strong will. The situation was quickly reversed. He directly knocked down the opponent, won the victory, and politely helped his opponent up. He gave the money he won to the old monk and left by boat. The temple was being repaired that day. The colonel and an official suddenly found the place and got straight to the point. The official introduced the war situation in Afghanistan at this time. Rambo thought it had nothing to do with him. The colonel hoped that he could accompany him, but he refused because Rambo was heartbroken by the events of the Vietnam War. On the other half, on the border of Afghanistan, the team led by the colonel encountered a Soviet attack. Half of the entire combat team died in an instant, and the colonel became a prisoner. Officials quickly informed Rambo of the news and said the government had no rescue plan. Rambo decided to save the colonel himself. Officials told him that if you join and you are arrested or if word gets out about this, we will deny your participation and we will deny your existence. Rambo said he was used to it. Soon, Rambo came to the border of Afghanistan and found his connector, Big Beard. The supplies he needed were already prepared, and the 2 of them were ready to set off. At this time, the colonel was being tortured severely. He was a tough guy and would rather die than surrender. Rambo and the others finally arrived at the Afghan camp after a long journey. This is the last village in the border area and the only one that has not been destroyed. After Rambo arrived, the village chief immediately held a meeting and introduced the enemy's deployment in detail. The villagers were afraid of Soviet retaliation and were unwilling to send people to assist in the rescue. Rambo understood their difficulties and decided to break into the camp alone. Later, Rambo participated in a horse riding competition in the village, which had just ended. 2 Soviet helicopters roared over and began bombing the villagers indiscriminately. 2 helicopters were carrying out a crazy massacre of people on the ground, most of whom were women, the elderly and children. Ruthless bullets were fired wildly at the ground, killing and wounding everyone in an instant. Corpses were scattered all over the field. Ordinary rifles could not cause any harm at all. Rambo dodged enemy bullets on horseback, braved the hail of bullets to find the heavy machine gun, and aimed it at the incoming fighter jets. Then he went into hiding. Another Soviet colonel piloted a helicopter and could only leave angrily after losing support. After witnessing this massacre, Rambo felt extremely sad. After the attack, the village is no longer safe and the village chief advises him to leave, saying this is not your war, which Rambo believes it is now. At night, Rambo used his saber to explore the road, successfully cleared the mines along the way, and successfully arrived at the Soviet camp with Big Beard. Unexpectedly, a little boy also followed and wanted to join the battle. Rambo had no choice but to open the iron door, sneak in smoothly, and then dispersed, installing the time bombs he carried on important equipment such as military vehicles and machinery. The bearded man accidentally knocked off the jar, which attracted the attention of the sentry. The soldier rushed over with his military dog. Rambo hid on a shelf to avoid being hunted, and then used a passing tank to drag him all the way to the depths of the base. Under the cover of smoke, he successfully evaded the sight of the sentry. After entering the bunker, he carefully avoided the patrolling soldiers and found the cell where the colonel was held. Just as he was about to open the cell door, the little boy suddenly appeared behind him, attracting the patrolling soldiers. Without any time to think, Rambo flew out with his knife, and the sound of gunfire immediately attracted the surrounding soldiers. He could only terminate the rescue and retreat while fighting. The time bomb was about to detonate, causing chaos in an instant. The Soviet colonel shot the boy in the thigh randomly. Rambo tried to rescue him, but was blown away. A wooden stick was pierced through his abdomen. He gritted his teeth and broke it with his hands. Then he picked up the unconscious little boy and ran outside, successfully reunited with Big Beard and jumped into the saw, followed by soldiers chasing after him. Rambo used a bomb to block the pursuers, and the 3 escaped from the base together. An Afghan came to meet him with his horse, but was shot dead by Soviet soldiers on the tower. Rambo picked up the rocket launcher and rushed over, fired a shot at the place, and then rode away on horseback. They came to a cave, and Rambo asked the bearded boy to retreat. Then he used ammunition to endure the severe pain and simply treated the wound, preparing for the next battle. A group of Soviet soldiers were searching the mountain. Rambo climbed out of the cave and found an opportunity to quickly eliminate a sentry, then sneak into the fortress. At this moment, the colonel was being tortured. The soldiers threatened him with a flamethrower. Rambo came out from behind, knocked down the soldiers, cut the rope directly, flew a knife, and scared one away. The one who didn't run away was unlucky. The soldiers who came to support were not spared and successfully rescued the colonel and other Afghan prisoners of war. They saw the opportunity. They boarded a helicopter at the base, but were discovered by the Soviet army as soon as they took off. Countless bullets flew towards them. The fighter jet was hit, and white smoke instantly appeared on the right wing. The colonel fired back with a heavy machine gun. Rambo drove a helicopter and destroyed a watchtower, but the aircraft was severely damaged and eventually lost control and crashed into the bottom of the valley. Before the fighter jet exploded, Rambo and everyone successfully escaped, and he asked the prisoners of war to retreat first. At this moment, the Soviet helicopter was conducting a search. Rambo installed the bow and arrow, loaded it with an explosive arrow, and then stood up and shot. Immediately after the Soviet colonel's fighter plane arrived, Rambo and the colonel immediately jumped into a cave. A cannonball fell from the sky. The entrance of the cave instantly burst into flames, and the flames rushed into the cave. Rambo managed to escape with difficulty and was almost burned. Before the two could rest, a large number of Soviet soldiers entered the cave and hunted them. However, darkness was Rambo's most familiar environment, and the Soviet soldiers could not trace him at all. He quickly eliminated them all, and the colonel also cooperated perfectly. Then he climbed up along the rope, but as soon as he reached the entrance of the cave, he was grabbed by the neck by a strong man, and the two started fighting. The Russian strongman really lived up to his reputation, and quickly controlled Rambo. At the critical moment, he pulled the grenade on him and kicked him to the entrance of the hole. The two thought they had escaped capture, but unexpectedly the Soviet colonel and the army had already arrived. In order to survive, they had to fight to the death, annihilate an armored vehicle, and then hid in a nearby trench. Facing the enemy's indiscriminate bombardment, their situation was very dangerous. At the critical moment, the Afghan guerrilla cavalry charged towards the Soviet army crazily, and a fierce exchange of fire broke out between the two sides. Rambo took the opportunity to blow up a tank with a Molotov cocktail, and the colonel used a heavy machine gun to cover it. Rambo then entered the tank and began bombing the enemy. Seeing the soldiers who suffered heavy casualties, the Soviet colonel was very angry and rushed towards Rambo crazily. They launched an attack, and the Soviet colonel was shot several times. The plane lost control and collided with Rambo's tank. Rambo, the god of war, did not fall. The Afghans finally wiped out the Soviet army and won the battle. Rambo and the colonel embarked on the road back home. Afghanistan is a country that has been tormented by war, but it is also a country that is difficult to conquer. Finally, I hope that there will be no more wars in the world. Thank you for watching. See you in the next issue.